Are a well pump and water filtration business, focusing on just getting water where people need it at affordable price. There are these days of people taking advantage of other people on pricing. It seems like. So,
Hey, it's Randy with Lane Home Pros, and today we're here with Shawn from Alpine Pump, and Shawn's going to share, what's happening right now and a little bit about himself. So, Shawn, tell us more about Alpine Pump.
well, we are a well pump and water filtration business, focusing on just getting water where people need it at affordable price. Like there is a lot going on out there these days of people taking advantage of other people on pricing. It seems like.
Okay. So then you do well pump replacement and repair by the sounds of it.
Yes.
What other things do you do besides that?
Well, we do anything that has to do with the water system, getting water to the house. So let's say you have a well that's starting to not produce as much water as it used to. Well, then we come in and do, a holding tank system. Or we can get a hold of a driller, and if we need more water, we can drill a new well. There's options. There's always options.
There's always options. So then we've got the water in the well, you got the pump in place. What about tubes and wiring and what happens on the inside of the house? How far do you go in the home with the water system?
Well, most of the time the water system isn't in the home. I'm feeding the water to the home, but the water system isn't located there. Most of the time it's either located in a pump house or a lot of times maybe in the garage, or sometimes in the basement. But once I get the water to the system and the water goes to the house, after that it's the plumber's job.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is you're not a plumber. What you're doing is you're getting the water to the actual home or business, and then the plumber can take over from there. Okay. So then right now we're sitting here, it's June. What's happening right now, I guess, Greater Lane County, if you want to talk about it, as far as the water and the well systems? What are you seeing as far as urgency, the calls you're getting? What's happening?
Right now, it seems like there is quite a bit of low water situations going on already with wells that aren't producing as much water as they used to. And we are going around putting in some holding tank systems to meet people's demand for water right now. And usually I'm not putting holding tank systems in till August.
So holding tank, for those people who don't know about it or you're thinking about it, can you explain the holding tank, what it does, where it's located, what it's made out of?
Sure. So the holding tank would be either located as close as we can get it to the well. Usually that's the most cost effective. Basically, the system works as the well will pump whatever water it can to the holding tank to store it, and it'll just do this repetitive process to keep the tank as full as it can. And then you have a, let's say, 2,500 gallon reserve water now to support your usage.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So is it running all day and gets to a certain level? How does that work?
Yeah, so once the tank is full, there is float systems inside of it that tell the well to shut off.
So then I'm a homeowner, I've got an acreage, a farm or whatever. How do I choose between concrete to above ground? What's the differences?
The only difference I can really see would be the sight factor, the looking at your tank. Some people don't want to see a big 2,500 gallon black holding tank sitting above the ground. There's always the option of putting a 3,000 gallon concrete tank in the ground where you don't have to see it. And then sometimes with systems like that, we can build the pump house right on top of it and use the concrete from the top of that tank as the floor of the pump house and consolidate everything into one space.
That makes a lot of sense. So then the next thing people are going to ask, well, what's the cost difference between these two?
That really depends on site to site. There's no, I can't say that it's going to be this much more money for the concrete style system compared to the poly above ground tank style. Because there's a lot more to it than just the tank.
So then what I'm hearing, and if you're wondering out there, you want to get a hold of Shawn and just really cover those things there, because he's going to be able to explain the pricing, the location, and probably even some recommendations for you on obviously the size, depending on the size of your family and your needs, whether you have a big garden, for example, and so on. So that covers the holding tank side of things. What about the actual pump itself? Are you replacing a lot of those? Do you make recommendations on changing them for output and volume? What happens on the actual pump?
Well, the actual pump side of it, if a well's starting to, let's say, not produce as much water as it used to, we can start running into pump problems because maybe the system wasn't set up properly for a low producing well.
Right.
And then we start running the pump without water and we start burning components up. That's one issue. I mean, you're always going to have pumps going out.
Right.
Nothing lasts forever. But I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And my average that I see a pump lifespan is that 15 to 25 years, depending on how someone uses it and how much maintenance they do on the system.
Okay. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So there's probably different types of pumps out there, as far as I know anyways, ones that are actually in the well and some might be above the level of the well. Which one is the best? And can you explain that?
I would say for today's water issues we're starting to have is this submersible pumps down the well.
Okay.
Yeah, because the problem is with above ground pump, they can only suck water from about 20 feet and actually have topside performance. So once we start getting down deeper than that, that pump's not going to work very well.
Okay, so you're going to go submersible type of thing. Okay. So then you've talked about, the pumps, the holding tanks. What else do you do to help people out with their water systems?
We also do water filtration. If there's something that you notice with your water that you don't quite like, you can always give us a call, come out, do some water testing, and basically ask you, what is your biggest complaint about the water? And then we go from there. Okay,
so then if that's the case, filtration is different than a water softener, isn't it?
Well, a water softener is a type of filtration, but this depends on what you're trying to filter out of the water.
Okay.
So your water softeners are good for your hard water situations, a lot of calcium. It will help a lot with iron too, depending on what type of iron you have.
Okay. And the filtration side, can you do something about taste then with that? Or
sure. There's all sorts of different types of medias out there to fix whatever it is that you're trying to fix. That's why I always go and ask the first question is, what is your biggest complaint about the water?
Right.
Is it the smell, the taste, the staining of your toilet, or and then we go from there.
Okay. So then if you're looking at either doing some replacements, upgrades to your well system on the water, then you're going to get a hold of Shawn. Now, Shawn, what about locations? Where do you actually go north, south, east, west? Where do you travel to?
So north, we go to Albany, and then south we'll go as far as Cottage Grove.
Okay. And then what about east and west?
East and west. We will go up to Sweet Home, Lebanon. That's about up to McKenzie, probably up to Vida.
Okay.
And then west, we do cover quite a bit of the coast, out like Philomath, Alsea, heading out towards Bonita and heading out towards the coast of Florence.
Okay. So it's a pretty good distance that you will go and travel there. Now, I guess one of the things that if it comes to an emergency and the water's completely out, are you the type of person that would go out there and fix it, bring the supplies, buy the new part, bring it out? What do you do there in an emergency?
Well, in an emergency, basically, obviously you call in and say, I don't have any water. Well, okay. So those are more of my priority calls.
Okay.
I am someone who's going to jump on that as fast as I can to help you out, get your water restored as fast as possible. Now, I'm going to show up to the site, troubleshoot it. If it's something simple, most likely I have the parts and I'll fix it right then and there. If it is the pump, there's so many different variables and pumps that I'm not going to carry every pump with me.
Right.
So now it gets into a bigger process. So then I got to get the right pump, figure out how deep the well is, how much water we're trying to move, and go from there.
Right.
Go get my boom truck.
Right. Come back out again. Right. Well, so what I'm hearing then is that on the emergency side, you're the type of business then that will reply quickly and respond quickly and get out there.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. I guess the other thing we should ask about then, as far as your well systems there, and you talked about, them lasting 15 and 20 years, me as the homeowner, I'm going to say, well, how can I make it last longer? What's the differences? You kind of alluded to it a little bit. How do you care for it?
A yearly maintenance, just to make sure that everything is running properly, is a big thing. Because one of your biggest pump failures is actually the pressure tank going bad first, and you're not knowing it,
mm-hmm.
and then it takes out the pump because now we're overworking the pump.
Right.
So if we do a yearly service where we're checking that pressure tank and catching it before it goes, or
mm-hmm.
catch it before, maybe it's bad, but it hasn't been bad that long yet, and hasn't had the chance to take the pump out,
mm-hmm.
or cause a bunch of damage to the pump.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm the homeowner, and I know that there's this pressure tank
mm-hmm.
problem. How would I identify it? Because as a layperson, I don't know what the difference is.
Most of the time, your biggest sign of a pressure tank issue is going to be lower pressure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And also, maybe you're noticing the pump cycling on and off.
You can hear it going on and off, on and off.
It's going on and off too much. Okay. It's different.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then, if that's the case, I think there's new different systems you can put in where you can keep the pressure constant. What's that?
Absolutely. So we could talk about the constant pressure systems that would be more like being on a city water system.
Oh, okay.
And we don't have to use a big pressure tank anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we use a variable speed drive. It's called a BFD drive system.
Okay.
And it allows the pump to be able to speed up and slow down based on the water demand at that moment.
Oh, that's unique.
So if someone's in the shower, you want to go do a load of dishes, that pump will just ramp itself up to meet that demand, mm-hmm. and you won't notice a pressure drop. It'll keep the system running at 60 psi as long as you can. I mean, if you start running a crazy amount of water and it can't keep up, obviously it's going to be down on pressure, but
right.
It'll do its best to keep the pressure maintained at 60 psi throughout the household usage.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense, because I would think that is either relatively new or something that people haven't added right now to their system.
It's been around for quite a while. It's just getting to where it is, I would say, a lot more dependable.
Okay.
When it very first started coming out, 15, 20 years ago, some of it wasn't the greatest.
Okay. Okay. So it's a dependable system now. To upgrade to something like that, mm-hmm. does it take a long time? Do you have to bring special equipment out? What do you do?
First of all, I would just have to come out and take a look at the system.
Of course.
Yeah. And then I can assess if it's possible to do it or not based on the electrical.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
So the electrical plays a big role in it?
Yeah, it depends on what kind of wire we got ran out to the well, what kind of pump is in there to begin with, mm-hmm. and stuff like that.
Okay. And the other day you were mentioning that there's something with solar power that we can use. What's that all about?
Solar systems are something we're starting to get into. We're starting to see a little bit more demand for it. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm working on a project to do a solar pond fountain pump.
Oh, okay.
Which is in the works. Basically, he wanted just to not run power out there and just let the solar do it. Mm-hmm. And when the sun's up, the pump runs. When the sun goes down, the pump stops.
Simple.
Yes. Yeah. Also, there'll be great systems for off the grid, or some of this like agricultural watering, or for, let's say, livestock. Mm-hmm. Let's say we got a pasture, we want to water some cows, but we don't want to run power all the way out there.
Yeah.
Well, we can drill a well and just put a solar pump in to feed a trough, and
mm-hmm.
be a lot more cost effective than running a bunch of power.
Right. So it sounds like equipment wise, then you've got your boom truck and mm-hmm. obviously your service vehicles there. What about, I say, you know what, I want one of those in-ground holding tanks. Do you do the excavation? Do you have a partner that works with you? How does that happen?
Usually I would outsource someone to do the dirt work. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have I'm not saying that I can't do it, mm-hmm. but there is points where I get busy enough to where I would have to outsource it.
Right. So you've outsourced it, and I say, mm-hmm. well, I've got a water problem. My water levels are low. I put in the holding tank. What time frame do you need to actually do this? Is it 2 days, a week? What long does it take?
Really, that depends on the system and how far away from the well we are.
Oh.
Because that depends on how much trenching and water lines are running.
Good point.
Most of the time I can get a holding tank system done in 2 days.
Oh, that's quick.
Yeah. Oh. Sometimes even a day.
Oh, that's really quick. Okay, I was thinking this was going to be a week-long project.
No.
So,
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, well, I think then, Shawn, you've talked about your experience, where you're located, what work you do, the services you do. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you about, in particular right now in 2025? What's happening, basically well system-wise, filtration system-wise? Is there something new out there, or something that you want to mention?
I wouldn't say there's anything new out there for this year.
Mm-hmm.
So No, I think we covered everything.
Perfect. I just thought of something then about the maintenance programs. Are you seeing people that say, you know what, can you come out once a year and check the pressure systems,
Yes, I do have some customers that can call up and say, let's service the system this year. There are some people out there, let's say, on filtration systems that do need yearly maintenance.
Oh, okay.
Changing filters, doing water testing, because there are some stuff, let's say you have arsenic in your water.
Right.
We need to be doing yearly tests to make sure the system's working like it
doing
should.
its job.
Yep. So
exactly. So anyway, Shawn, how do we get a hold of you best? Like, where do we find you online? What's your phone number?
Well, you can always look up Alpine Pump on Google, or you can give us a call at 541-424-2243. There's always someone there to answer the phone.
Perfect. Sounds great. So if you've got an emergency problem, call Shawn. If you've got a problem with replacing a pump, give Shawn a call. If you've got any other questions about holding tanks, filtration, water softeners, just give Shawn a call at Alpine Pump. We'll talk to you soon.